Welcome back to another episode of the Uncommon Man Project podcast. I am unbelievably excited to share with you today. We have somebody coming in from the other side, we'll say, and it's someone who's had years of experience in the realm of females and women and the beautiful things that they create for us in our relationships as we are men. So we have Bree Taylor Molly New today with us. She's come to join us to share her wisdom, her gifts, and just some amazing insights that, I'll be honest, that people like myself and MC don't have because we're not on that side of the fence. And she has so many things to share with us. We're going to try squeeze it into a short amount of time so you can take away real usable tools to use to build passion, build intimacy, and build connection in your relationship. Because the thousands of men that we have coached and mentored and helped, it always, when I get them to vision their life in the future, they always come back with one thing. And it's not business, it's not wealth, it's not how big their house is. They always vision what they're doing with the person that they love the most, their most intimate partner. So I cannot wait for Bree to share her wisdom. Welcome, Bree. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Very excited to be here too.
Cool. I wanted to ask a little bit about your journey because you've done a lot of work, and a lot of the work with some of the foundational stuff we do, which is with David Dieta and his work. And you spoke to something that I think is so incredibly powerful for both men and women, but women more specifically. You share that this idea of it didn't matter how much of the work you did, the more things you read, the courses and everything like this, you found it more and more confusing. You said it actually made it worse and you got more and more into your head. I would love for you to speak to this idea of information, but more so the energy of being in your mind and in your head and how that impacted you.
It's a big question. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I trained as a clinical hypnotherapist. So I trained in the areas of psychology and mindset and mind over matter. And so that was my entry to the world, from 18. And I think that really conditioned me to always think that I could use my mind over my body. Years and years of training with Tony Robbins and, all the best in the business. But the problem with that is, as a woman, my power doesn't lie simply in my mind. And it reinforced me living up here versus living through the rest of me. And I really was numb. I was disconnected. I was helping people to create change, but I was still struggling to create change in my relationship, in my long-term partnership, until I started to understand the bridge between the mind and the body, that Tantra and yogic practices, not yoga, but yogic approaches, really landed in my body. I read all the books, but I actually had to transition from the knowledge to the embodied experience. And so embodiment is the thing that shifted it for me.
Can you share and give some insight to the people listening? So what does it actually look like when you say living from your head? And how is that impacting you in your relationship for one, but also just in your general day-to-day life?
I think a really common example that a lot of women share with me, which is where I was, being stuck in my head during lovemaking. So, we're wanting to be physical, or I'm wanting to surrender, but I didn't know how to be responsive. I didn't know how to give positive feedback. It's like the whole rest of my body was numb, and meanwhile, my mind was going with shopping lists. And, so the inability to be fully integrated through my voice and my heart and my sex and my pleasure and bring it all online. There was a lot of noise up here and then a lot of not sensation down the bottom. Very
And
painful for a woman. And I imagine very painful for my husband at the time, because he wanted me to be having a great time, right? And I couldn't get out of my own head, essentially.
you have just
Straight into
spoken.
the meaty stuff. Hey, it's pretty big.
Yeah, You've spoken straight to me, which I know if it's speaking to my soul, you're speaking to thousands of men who are listening to this. And it's like our MC and I had this conversation just the other day. Like,
Huh.
my partner's pleasure is my pleasure. Like, and this isn't just sex, it's life. When my
Yeah.
partner chooses herself and, goes on an adventure or fills her cup up, I'm so filled with love and pride that I'm like, oh my God, we've created this environment together. And then when it comes to lovemaking, to to see her surrender in her own joy and her own pleasure, it's like, oh my God, that is one of the biggest turn-ons. And I get it as a man. I spoke literally to MC yesterday. I was like, I've been so in my head. I've got this list of to-dos, and life just feels overwhelming, and there's nothing outside of it, including like sex drive just drops everything, even
Mm.
for myself as a man. And I think I would love MC's insight on this as well. But what do you think it is that is driven women away from almost the permission to be in their bodies, and driven them to this idea of like, well, I've got to use this more. This is what I have to use to, whether it's getting ahead or to feel safe. What do you think is the main driver there?
I'm gonna let Bree kick that off. And yeah, I was just feeling into the answer then. That was heavy.
Yeah, it is heavy.
It's heavy, yeah.
Um, Oof, again, I don't know if I can answer that with one thing. Um, for me, it was being validated for showing up like a man in the world. At least that's how I would explain it now. I didn't understand that at the time. And not being validated for being the creature that I am. I'm highly emotional. I feel a lot. Michael's seen me cry countless times in the in the work that we've done together, and I'm completely comfortable with that now. But back then, my
Mm,
sensitivity was not welcomed by my partner, by my parents when I was younger. At school, I could cry just feeling into that. And so the lack of welcoming of my innate nature as a woman is not welcomed in this world. The world validates power, drive, money. It doesn't validate felt emotions. It doesn't validate our senses. It doesn't validate nurturing the children with wholesome food. All these things, even creatives are not well paid for the most part.
mm,
Art through the body is not what we are told makes money. And it breaks my heart, actually, because it's literally half the population getting left behind. And then I bought
mm.
into that story and fought against myself for a long time until I was so
Man,
miserable that I had to snap myself out of it.
uh, I want to come back to share more of that. MC, would you like to share your insight there?
Yeah, thank you, Bree. I'm probably gonna add or extend off the back of that because when you asked the question, I felt this like heaviness come over me. And I was like, oh God. And as a collective of, representative of the masculine, we have a level of ownership around that because at one point we were all equal. We were flying in unison, we were in harmony, we were in balance, we were in equanimity. And then, then that is the purity of love, right? We were at the personification of love or God or universe. But there's anything down from that is a delineation and distortion of love. And the fall of man has fallen into, I guess, this pendulum swing of duality. And unfortunately, the old phrase is power corrupts and absolute power absolutely corrupts. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is the masculine sought that power and then through immature masculine ways and dominance of immature masculinity, repressed, suppressed the feminine and beat them down into nothing. And then they were taught to fight, sorry, to find a voice, even have a voice. And those rare few that did were burnt at the stake, literally, metaphorically, and spiritually. And that was the heaviness of this. And that is the past, because that ship has been righted. It will never diminish the wrongs, but we can correct that. And
Mm.
there was an uprising of the feminine, and that came from a wounded space. So it wasn't gone never started on good footings. It never started on strong foundations of healthy, right, recovery. And unfortunately, you've heard me say this before, it was Nietzsche that says, in the essence of killing the monster, make sure you don't become the monster yourself. And as a byproduct, then the pendulum swung the other way. But I'll park it there. There's a whole another teaching on that. But for now, why did women end up in this position? I would categorically say that as a collective, we have to have a level of ownership for that. And that's the heaviness for me. However, people like Josh, myself, and countless others are working to rectify that, educate men, level men up to create a better playing field for men to fall back into their true essence, is their divine feminine in their body being embodied and in flow and in grace and in love and gentleness and all of the emotions. They're the full spectrum of the feminine, So that's where it came up for me was, our ownership on that.
Thanks, MC. Bree, I get this idea of, as a female fighting for your place in the world, fighting for your value, really fighting for, hey, I'm here, please love me for what I am. And basically the world saying, no, we value power, strength, money, and that's what
Intelligence.
we're after. Yeah, intelligence. Nothing that is emotional, intuitive, nothing that unfortunately is the greatest strength, which is the oracle. And a strong man will realize that in his family, if he's lucky enough to have a strong woman by his side, is that you seek advice from the oracle for the true reason that her essence has that as one of her true powers. But what is it that is the ongoing almost thirst or striving for women to still go down this path, even though we've got a new school of thought? It's certainly the idea of the mature masculine and the mature feminine. We're moving past this idea of toxic masculinity. What do you think is holding these women from giving themselves permission to experience what you're experiencing now? Which I feel your energy, I feel your balance, I feel your confidence in the strength of what and who you are. What is it that is sitting on the precipice for women to be able to experience what you have?
There's shame. There's the disconnection from our bodies that we chose to allow. And also all the hurt that Michael touched on. There is a lot of anger that a lot of women have at men or at the collective. Whether, I still see women every day on Instagram talking about the patriarchy. And I'm just like, we need to move past this. I believe we as women need to do our bit, and that invites men to rise. We can't lead you anywhere if we are, like, I couldn't be led when I wasn't in a place to be receptive. And that meant doing my own work, facing my own shame story, all of that. And so there's a big piece there. And I'm a very big advocate for us as women doing our piece, our 100% of the 50%, and men doing their 100% of the 50%. And then we come together in union as the stuff that Rumi writes about in poems.
Yeah.
But we didn't get there by accident unless our parents modeled that, and most of our parents didn't.
No.
So it's a lot. It's a big piece of work.
Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for doing the work that you do, because it's so honorable seeing somebody transform from that place where you came to your truth. You were like, this is not serving me. I want something more for my life. What I would love to understand is, when you were there in that time where you were in your head, you were married at the time, how did that affect your relationship, and what were the implications and things that showed up for you in that time?
I hadn't thought about this for a long time. I didn't trust his leadership.
Mhm.
And I was with a very capable masculine man, and so I questioned him. I pushed back against him. I tried to control. Because I didn't feel safe enough in myself to express my vulnerability, my fears, my doubts, or process them through my body so I could bring that to him vulnerably or honestly or angrily even. I just didn't know how to bring the full spectrum of myself to him because I hadn't contacted it in myself. So it looked a lot like pushing back, him wanting to take care of me, but me not knowing how to receive that and always, no, I don't want it like that. And, just what I would call not receiving his leadership.
Okay.
That was a very big part, as well as the distraction and the numbing out of feeling unhappy and not knowing why. I did all the spiritual things. I went to kirtan, I sang my heart out, I chanted, I had essential oils, I did lots of yin yoga, I did ecstatic dance. I mean, I still do all these things, but at the time I thought those were my salvation. They were balancing out all of the parts of me that were stuck in unhealthy behaviors or to get me out of my head, to try and counterbalance enough. So I'd feel good for a moment, but then I'd snap straight back. And now I live in that way that I would consider is integrated, top to bottom, in every direction of masculine and feminine, light and dark, heart and sex. But without that, it was clunky. It was disconnected. I couldn't receive myself, let alone him.
So thank you. What was the thing that clicked? You've got all these things going on. You've got the essential oils, you've got the ecstatic dance, you've got the feminine, like what we would call feminine things over here, and you're getting that. You're getting the juice for a moment, and then you're not able to integrate it back. What was the thing that finally went, oh, the puzzle piece just clicks in, you're like, oh my God, yeah. What was it for you?
It was a couple of things.
Hmm.
Shadow work was one of the biggest ones, because he could have led me the best way possible, like what Michael and I teach, and I still couldn't receive it back then because I was too in my own stuff. So I had to look at my own shadows, my own unhealthy wounded masculine, my own unhealthy wounded feminine. I had to clean the shit in my own house. And then I had to learn how to get out of my head and be in my body. They're the two things that probably were the pivotal points, which I did fairly concurrently to like everyday, daily embodiment practice. One of the practices that I teach every single day, just like showing up to the yoga mat, to feel, to cry, to get angry, to purge all of the emotions that I'd buried and not felt for such a long time, and stop pushing it onto someone else and know how to manage it in myself so I could bring it to him in a clean, energetic way versus a needy, blamey, control-y, in any way not really helpful kind of way, which so many women do because we don't get taught these things. And I didn't get taught these things despite lots and lots of books. The books couldn't teach me how to be in my body more. Embodied practice and in-person workshops were the things that helped to really change that for me. And a lot of self-work and a lot of self-responsibility.
Oh, I'm going to plead here. I'm going to plead because there are thousands, tens, millions of couples who they got married to the love of their life, or they're dating who they thought was the love of their life, and they're experiencing conflict, they're experiencing trauma, it's getting worse. They have kids that they're trying to model the world to, which they're doing unconsciously, whether they like it or not. And you've just shared so many pieces that are so healing across the board. This idea of shadow work, which I'd love for you to explain kind of a little bit more detail of what shadow work looks like so people can understand, but also the pieces that are showing up before you realize this. I really want people to be able to see, how do I know that this is happening in my life? How do I know that this is the thing that's in my relationship? Because and this is screaming at me, like, if we could just give the people listening and the world just that fraction of insight to be like, hang on, I was experiencing that thing. And I get it as an MC, and we will sometimes we'll put this back on and we'll be like, yeah, we can lead them here. We can help them. We can help them see it. And you just can't as a man. Like you said, it doesn't matter how much you try and lead them there. It comes from inside. What were the things? What was the thing that it was like, this is showing up and I've got to change?
I didn't realize at the time, to be honest.
It's not until you're hurting enough with your current set of circumstances that you will make the change.
Yeah.
And whether it's drug and alcohol, whether it's abuse, whatever the addiction is, and it is an addiction, right? Until you hurt enough, you won't make change necessary. And when people keep going back to it, you're like, okay, then you're not hurting enough yet. And when they do, then they go, cool, I will do whatever it takes. And the change is almost cataclysmic in that moment because they made the decision, enough is enough. Yeah.
It breaks my heart to witness so much suffering across the board, which is creating suffering for generations, because I fucking hate you for this, to be honest, MC. I'm like, it's not a good enough answer. I want great, because I'm like, it hurts so much to see suffering. It does. And I've seen this so many times when MC's led me to this, and he's been right every time, to watch people, and it's empowering. Unfortunately, the suffering is so empowering as well. But I'm like, I guess I'm looking for the shortcut, right? I'm guessing I'm looking for people to be like, oh, I can see what's coming down the road. Let me cut that suffering short now.
It definitely took me to get to that breaking point of the relationship to create enough pain for me to stop avoiding looking at the parts of me that were not working in the relationship. I believe we both had responsibility there, but all I could do was clean up my side of the house. But before that, there was a whole lot of things. There was the quest for, let's have a nicer house, let's have more holidays. These things will make us happy. And then coming home, and then there's the quest for like, well, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And me always trying to fill myself up with more things. And I don't mean holidays as in exotic trips. I just mean I just need us to get away from the house and the work so we can go camping so you can be present with me. But I didn't have the language for that back then. Also, I can feel myself more away from the stress of life and the noise of my head. So I remember going on camping trips where I'd put my phone away for 3 days, and I would have been in the happiest place that I would been for a long time. And then we would come back and nothing else would change because we didn't know what we needed to do differently in the everyday world. There was coming home and watching TV at night, which I never really loved, but I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know to say, hey, why don't we go and give each other a massage? And so instead, slipping into habits of sameness, where we are housemates instead of wild, passionate lovers. We care about each other, but we're not treating each other with the same devotion that we did early in the relationship. We stopped dating each other. We stopped prioritizing each other beyond the mundane, especially when children come into the picture, because there's just all the survival needs that start to kick in. Pornography on the masculine side, distraction on my side. Are those measurable enough?
Yeah, that you two have put that so beautifully. MC knows he's been doing this long enough and he's experienced it. He knows the truth, and it hurts to know that is a truth, but it is beautiful to also be able to see, hey guys, here are the signs. Hey, are you picturing going away on holiday for relief? Like, oh, we'll just have some time together away. Are you looking at distractions? Those are the early signs. Like, you will meet the wall that is Michael Cooper and suffering if you do not recognize the things that Bree has just shared with you early on. Like, that is, we share this in our work all the time, and as I said, it's just so hard to see suffering when you speak with a man, and it's literally such a clear vision of the path that's laid out in front of them.
Mm.
You can see it happening. You could write it for them, and it doesn't change. They're like, nah. And I'm like, mate, I have a book. I have many books. They have each one of a client's book of their journey. Would you like, no, I'm different. And it's all there, Bree, is like that for the female in the relationship, seeing that they're distracted, but often by the doing. It's the to-do
Oh,
list.
yeah.
It's the, I'm over here, I'm doing that. And then the idea of like, well, a holiday will save us. Maybe we'll just do this. We'll do the bigger home, or we'll get the thing, and that'll be our next. And it just, if somebody can have a breath,
Yeah.
just a breath right there, it's like,
Too much
oh shit.
monotony, too much sameness, too much loss of joy, pleasure, gratitude, appreciation for each other. All of those things are pretty cataclysmic when we stack them all together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing that. Really, thank you. If anybody's listening, it's right there that they can see the fork in the road for them.
We did a teaching on this for the men, around purpose,
Mm.
which is meaning and fulfillment combined. Right. And what they focus on is, as Bree mentioned, all of those distractions. So a new car, a new house, a bigger TV, a trip away. So I'm not happy with my current set of circumstances. So let me disassociate and project something out into the future, which, like winning lotto, let's call it, or a camping trip away, or just something that's a reprieve from this tension. But
Mm.
tension is the inflection point of the thing that needs to die and the thing that wants to be birthed to come through. And most people are too unwilling to let go, hence the suffering. They hold on to the tension point, not willing to die, right?
Mm.
And so we spoke about these things, we called them approximations. If I have this thing, then I'll be happy. Well, no, it won't ever be enough. You could get $1 million and you'll be like, oh shit, it's not 1 million, it's 2. Okay, let me push for 2. And you just keep pushing more and more and more because they're approximations for a sense of happiness and peace.
That right there is, I feel, one of those lessons that you literally, that like 99.9% of the time, have to suffer yourself and go through it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
bizarre when watching people make the million and then go, it
Nothing
must be
changed.
2. Yeah,
It
it
must
must
be
be
2.
2.
But
Yeah,
tension is
and
powerful as well, because tension is the
Correct.
foundation of polarity, opposites.
Correct.
And without that, there is no pull to each other. There is no, I want to rip your clothes off right now. And so learning how to ride the juiciness of the tension is a refined skill set. We don't always have to collapse it. We just need to know how to tease it and play with it and revel in the juiciness of it from both sides of the equation.
Or even transmute it into connection. So conflict or tension into connection and into deep intimacy.
Yeah.
Like that's growth. And from the feminine, she loves mystery. So if you're being predictable and she's just getting the same date, the same dinner, the same talk, the same, there's no mystery to that. So as the masculine, you want to be more mysterious. You want her to not know what she's getting next. Is she getting the dark off side of you today? Is she getting the light moment 2 seconds later? And that's the like the breath of life, it's that inspiration. Like inhalation is an inspiration. So we're taking her breath and we're giving it back to her in a gasp. We're feeling her. And that's what creates, again, further more tension and more contrast, more polarity, which creates the charge that keeps the world spinning.
If there's any
Preach.
ladies listening, I want to invite you to feel into how your body responds to what Michael was just saying too, because I can feel mine responding to that invitation of variety. It's very appealing. So let yourself feel that and desire that.
The like, awesome, because I wanna lean into this tension part, and I wanna lean into the sexual tension of it, because this is the opportunity where guys are like, cool, tell me what's behind the veil, Bree. Like, tell me the secrets, tell me all the things. And we think it's some new move. We think it's a sex move, a dance move, a new toy, whatever it is, right? We're like, that'll be the thing. It's the same narrative we apply. It'll be the car, then it'll be the money. It'll be the toy. It'll be this thing. It'll be whatever it is. And you guys have both touched on tension. And we talk about tension, and you can talk about, I'd love to, I'm going to touch on a bit of your story, but like tension is sexual energy, which is creative energy, which is the life force of God and the universe. And it's like, MC used the term transmute. It's like you can use this sexual desire and the polarity in your relationship. You can transmute that tension anywhere you like. This is the beautiful thing, and you can use your partner to fuel you. And the reason why I mention that is because you, in your story, talked about how Tantra and BDSM has been part of your journey. And instantly, guys are salivating over the idea of Tantra and BDSM. But I would love for your insights and story about why and how that changed your life. Like, how did you use that as your, I guess, your canvas?
Tantra was the beginning to feeling myself again, to slowing down and moving through the numbness so I could actually bring my pleasure online. And that required a lot of emotional attunement to myself. So learning to take responsibility for my own pleasure, my own desire, doing my own solo practice where I breathe and feel my body. And I know how to open my body in massive amounts of pleasure without anyone else looking at me, touching me, doing anything to me. I can take myself to really amazing, ecstatic places on my own with no touch. And so Tantra gave me that skill set of how to use my breath and drop through sensations and open my body in almost any situation I choose. But then I started to want more. I always wanted more, actually. I just didn't know how to communicate back then. Can you do that 50 Shades of Grey thing to me? And so once I had the skills that Tantra gave me around communication, because I had no capacity to communicate anything sexually before that, then I felt safe to suddenly go down the massive rabbit hole that is BDSM and kink, and unlocked all these other like darker primal parts of myself. For example, for a long time, I feared pain. Despite having a child-free, a pain-free labor, well, pain-free is maybe not the right word, a long
Yeah,
labor
no.
with no pain
It's not
relief.
right. No pain
I
relief.
did
Yeah.
hypnobirthing. I had 30 hours of labor, no pain
Wow.
relief. So I'm capable of using my breath. This was before Tantra was a huge part of my life. Fast forward, if I can do that, I can do anything, but I was still afraid of pain. And so learning to transmute pain into pleasure was something Tantra taught me. And so now I go to BDSM practices, can do impact play, I can get choked and spanked and all sorts of things. And I'm just opening my body into more and more and more ecstatic states. So merging the two intentionally with love and care and attention has brought on my dark feminine in a really, really healthy way. So I can take up lots of erotic space and roar and scream and also be soft and sweet and innocent and bring all the flavors that I didn't have access to a long time because I was very, shut down. And most men want that range in a woman. In fact, every man I know craves that. And yet we as women can be afraid to go into these parts of ourselves or to say, actually, I'd really like to get down on my knees and worship you. Or I'd like you to put a collar around my neck and tell me what to do and tell me I'm a good girl and spank me if I'm not. And so having the power to step into my erotic desires came through that shadow work. And also knowing myself and being confident enough to say, actually, I don't know if I like these things, so I want to try them without fear and without judgment of myself.
I'd love
And I
to
did
add to
most of
that.
this on my own, by the way, out of partnership.
Cool.
I'd love to add to that, and this is for any women that might be listening, and I'm going to give the male perspective. I've been lucky enough to witness a similar journey that Bree just shared with two of past lovers, and they were shut down, disconnected, all the things. And watching a woman soften more and more and more through her own exploration, not through me, is one of the most captivating things. And we would set up different pleasure practices throughout the week that were purely devoted to the feminine. And most of those I was witnessing, because that's the masculine role, right, is to witness. And there was no touch required, no touch involved, not in an invasion of space. It was just purely witnessing, which is a de-armoring in and of itself initially. But for the women listening, Bree said this, every man desires this. Like, they don't know how to speak about it. And that's the beauty of Tantra. I think Tantra is wildly misunderstood. There's a
Mm.
lot of, I think people's experience with Tantra is Neo Tantra. And they think it's just swingers parties and free love and have a free for all without any accountability or spiritual connection whatsoever. It's like, I'm here for the free love. Oh, sorry, guys. That would happen. I'm sure my phone was on Do Not Disturb.
The you mentioned a key word actually, Bree, and that was range.
Mm.
Range. And then MC said, well, every man wants to experience it. And we speak about this. God, like, absolutely. Give me all those things you spoke about.
Yeah.
Give me all of those. But if I accept those, do I also have to accept this entire emotional range over here as well? Do I have to be a
Yes.
safe space for that as well? That's the question, right? Well, hang on, but I want all of these things. I want the BDSM, I want the Tantra, I want the pleasure, I want the worshipping. God, I just desire that so much. But does that mean I have to also be a safe space for this other range of your emotions outside of sensuality?
Don't
How
get
does
one
that?
without the other.
Yeah, right. Okay, perfect. So that's it right there. And it leads me to this idea of you went and found this tantra which led to you to yourself. Is there in any reality that a man could help lead a woman to that awareness?
Absolutely.
Or is
It's actually the
okay,
easier path. It
beautiful,
just
please
seems to
share.
be my nature that I don't choose the easy path. Spiritual lesson 101. Do things the hard way. Yes. So if a woman is open is the important word here, and she trusts her partner enough to trust his judgment or his leadership, then he can lead her anywhere. But if she is not willing to either look at the parts of her that are afraid or speak up for what feels uncomfortable or lean into those edges, then there's an imbalance of capacity for growth and evolution in the partnership. You know, he has the capacity to only take her so far if she's resisting that. But if she's on board, the union of two becomes greater, infinite, in fact. So, and that is the
Okay.
ideal scenario, I think, for most people who come to my workshops. They're coming in partnership, they're coming to explore these edges, and they're both a little unsure. But once he has a framework to keep checking in with her, does she feel safe? Does she feel loved? Does she need to slow down and go at a different pace? They can continue to grow at the right momentum for their relationship, which is unique to everyone.
Beautiful, because that's where I want to go. I like, from a personal point of view, it's nice having, if I'm going to cook, I'll have a recipe, please. I'll know my instructions. I want to know where I can go. I want to know what I can do. I want to know what I can follow. I want to know the rules. I want to know the boundaries. So I'd love for you to express, where are people at when they find you? What are they coming to find? And what are some of the possible things they're experiencing and the roadblocks that stop them? Because I know we've been in mentoring for 20 something years. There are things that stop me and they're like, oh, yeah, I kind of saw you 2 years ago and I didn't do anything about it now. And, now I'm here. What is it where am I at when I'm coming to look to work with you and to come to one of your retreats?
I think there's a lot of comfort. So a lot of the time before people get to that breaking point that Michael and I were talking about earlier, there's the comfort of it's okay. Like we're okay. We're good. We could get along well enough. The sex is not amazing, but it's okay. We love each other. We're committed to each other. Like that real monotony of just accepting a life that is less than fucking amazing. So people can sometimes be there, or they can be a little past that where there's been ruptures in the relationship and they're wanting to rebuild and acquire skills. But most likely they've been together for quite a while and they're kind of starting to get a little bit like, it's amazing, but not mind blowing. And I want mind blowing. I'm not here for average. Personally, I'm not here for an average relationship. So people who come to me generally want that too. It's just how willing they are to step into themselves over that line of discomfort for the men to look at the things that they need to look at and the women so that they can literally become divine beings in human form. Shiva and Shakti together in life.
Okay. So what happens at your retreat and with your work? Like, what do people experience? What do they come out with? Like, what is the thing that most people come out with? What do they say?
Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I was laughing because I was looking at some of the expressions / testimonials that have come through afterwards, but even just as people walk out the door on that final day, I think I could probably come from two perspectives. As a facilitator, we see how they arrive and then we see how they leave. That transformation is in and of itself wild, like night and day. Regardless of how long I've seen people at sort of like death's door, divorce, this is we're over, and I've seen them in long-term unions, but wanting a spark again. And that whole spectrum is covered off in deeper connection, deeper union, really in love. And what I love hearing is maybe we use this word devotion. They've never heard of it before, 9 times out of 10. Maybe they've seen it a little bit online because we talk about it a lot, but all of a sudden they have a deeper understanding of devotion and they're inspired by it. And I don't know how to do this, but we're going to have that. We want that because they see it embodied, even in our teaching, right? They witness it. They have a model for it now. All of a sudden it's tangible. So what do they get from it? Every couple's going to have their own experience, but you can see the light come back into their being themselves individually and as a couple. And they are more alive. They usually walk out holding hands, connected, where they probably walked in separate at some degree. And yeah, that's from the facilitator side, that's what we get to witness, the physical change. There's a lightness that comes back to them. From their perspective, Bree's probably across more of the actual testimonials, the written ones and that, but they say how much it's inspired them and motivated them and given them a new lease of life and given them some practical tools because they do. It's a lived practice. Like Bree said, when she went through her initiation into the space and the woman that she is now, all the books in the world didn't get her there. It was doing the things, embodied, in practice, in-person retreats that made the cataclysmic change. Because usually you're given a model of what it looks like. We can't become the thing we can't see. It's very hard. So when Bree models the feminine, the divine feminine, and she holds herself in beautiful surrender, like Bree's got this, I don't know if I can give that away. But anyway, Bree has this knack of embodying it really well. I won't share what it is, so you can come along and witness it yourself, right? But she allows my masculine to be more on show. So her feminine, and we show polarity in simple little ways just by her being. And it's beautiful to watch her, through our facilitator union to surrender and fall deeper into the feminine and softness. And she's not disempowered. She's fully empowered. She's actually in more power. And people get to see, wow, she's potent and soft. And there's a paradox in their head that scrambles the mind a little bit, that gets them curious, right? And it's just not anything. She doesn't say, do this. She when we look at children, they don't do what you say, they do what you do. And so Bree just does it really beautifully. But guess what? She also leads, and she also presents, and she also co-facilitates, and she does all of the things that are masculine, but she does it from the feminine frame. Yeah, it's really beautiful to watch. And as I said, it just is so much easier when people they weren't modeled this by mum, dad, grandparents, and certainly grandparents before that. So there's no frame for it. And then all of a sudden we put some terminology to it, we put some tools to it, we put some practices to it, and then I've got a vision of what it looks like. And it's much faster to move towards that than what it would be if I read a book and try and figure it out myself.
That right there, like I was talking about a recipe, like the model, how fast you can get somewhere where you're like, oh, boom, it's
That's
it. And it feels innate. I know when you see a model, you're like, oh my God, that is the missing. I have felt something. I haven't been able to put words or actions to it, but it's always felt. I felt something missing, and that's just I love that. That's the piece in the recipe. Thanks, MC.
Can I jump in?
I would love
Josh?
you to share, Bree. Yeah.
I thank you for what you shared, Michael, because I'm remembering last year's retreat, and it was so beautiful because I teach a lot on my own. And so I'm holding the masculine and the feminine. You know, if you go through my Insta, most of those workshops, I'm holding them on my own. And so to be able to co-facilitate with a man who I know can more than hold the masculine frame, I don't need to do any of that. And so it's a completely different experience for me to facilitate. And as Michael touched on, the couples got to not only feel that, but to come into resonance with that. And I think that's a big part that's unspoken. We can give you the practices. We'll take you through practices. We'll teach you how to be in devotion to each other in daily experience beyond just the retreat. But also, what does it feel like to be in this energy together? And us being able to model that in the room from the beginning, the whole time through, we even felt a shift. I mean, I'm speaking for you, but I know that we talked about it afterwards, Michael. He felt a shift and I felt a shift in ourselves as we slipped into polarity. And we're not life partners. We're just co-teachers. Polarity doesn't always have to be in romantic partnership. In fact, I have polarity with a lot of men in my life who are not my partners because it's natural if we learn to embrace the gift. And for me, the gift in that was being softer and knowing I am strong and I'm fierce and I can do whatever I need to take care of, but I can also be really sweet and relaxed and playful, and bringing all of that range for the women to give themselves permission that they can do that too in their daily lives, and also how much their men are craving it. And all of that means that by the time they left the retreat, they were so clearly re-enamored in their love and care for each other. I think everyone had really great sex on that last night. We could tell the way they walked into the room. It was like, oh, we're the only ones not getting sex here. But they're like having a great time. The love was palpable, but so was the aliveness in their bodies, the men in their masculine, the women in their feminine, and the union of that, the divine union of this is how we orient together, especially because the couples retreat we teach is for couples who are in established partnership. So it is an invitation to come when you're already at a healthy level, like what we would call a stage 2 relationship, and you want to take it to stage 3, where it's deep in devotion, deep in desire, deep in erotic care, not just, again, if you want the everyday, don't come. We're not for you. But if you want to up level your relationship into that deep magic and love and fuck and joy, all of those things are appropriate here. And they're skills that we need to learn how to do together, not just on our own, but in union, in partnership.
Bree, correct me if I'm wrong on these numbers, but I think some of the past attendees was it 25-year relationship, 13-year relationship?
25 and a 35-year relationship.
20 and 35. And they got the most spark of everyone I would,
I want
not
to
to
come back
compare,
again
right?
this year, actually.
Yeah, right. And
Isn't that
that's,
amazing? Their commitment to their partnership. Because
devotion.
it takes work.
to constantly learn and grow. And we don't sit around campfire singing Kumbaya. It's not peace, love, and mung beans. No, we actually, there was a lot of heavy work in there, equally balanced with repair and all of the things and communication. And it's so, you see the footage and you think, oh wow, that's all love. No, they actually did deep work. You saw the end result. They actually uncleaved, they held, they supported, they reversed roles, they had understanding. So it's huge. I wanted to share something for the females listening, though, to maybe take from Bree. I and the wording is escaping me word for word, but I remember at the end of the retreat, Bree said, so in that experience, Bree has been a strong facilitator holding the whole frame on her own. And after this experience, she's like, wow, I've got so much more energy. I actually feel normally I'm quite depleted after the retreats. And she had so much more range and so much more bandwidth. Because, well, Bree, why would you say that would be for you?
It's more restorative for me to be in my feminine as a feminine being. And I was in my feminine 70, 80, 90% of that retreat. I didn't
Yeah.
have to think. I knew you had the structure, the time,
Yeah, I remember one time you
taking
go,
care of it. I did it. We
just
did
didn't
planning
think.
together, but in the moment, you took care of the stuff that needed to be taken care of, just like going on a holiday. You did the
Correct.
physical things so that I didn't have to do them.
So it's a beautiful example for women listening that Bree naturally fell into her true and natural essence, and life became easier. And she had more energy and more play and more fun and enjoyed herself. And so, how does that play out for you at home, in your married life, or in your work life, even? Again, it's another example of Bree just living the embodiment of her work and being true to it and congruent with it.
And when we're pushing back, like, when I think about myself 15 years ago, when I was pushing back against him, there was no energy to be gained because I was bringing my masculine to the, and my wounded feminine as well. I was bringing my wounded masculine and my wounded feminine, which is amazing. Exhausting versus us being in our healthy where the energy flows effortlessly
Spirals up.
for both of us. I think it was more enlivening for you in a different way too, wasn't it?
It was so rich for me. It was such a beautiful experience because the more a woman drops into her feminine, I have no other option but to elevate up. I mean, of course, I want to because that's who I am, and that's exactly when I went deeper into my masculinity more and more and more. I should actually reverse that because the feminine rises, the masculine grounds. So,
Yeah.
I had the wrong hands. So, left is the feminine, right's the masculine. But you get the gist. I got to ground in deeper and deeper and deeper and more into stillness, lean back more, be more present because of her elevation, because of her natural, and there was no tug of war, there was no push. I could just ground more and more and more. And if there was a moment where there was a sense of, it's like, okay, it's cool. I got it. We'll go here. And she's like, thank you. I couldn't make my mind. And I was like, I know. It was so ebb and flow. It was so effortless because we're in polarity. And so by Bree, and I was just going to be present with whatever was on Bree's side, and I would balance that out. But the more she rose into her feminine, the more she rose into that, the more I could deepen in. And it was such a great experience. I was in heaven, for me. It was the easiest ever because that was
So much
what we
easier.
teach. It's the true polarity that you desire in a relationship.
I think that's the big takeaway, honestly, for couples is how do you embody these energies in daily life? You need to be
Mm,
in the energy of it, have practical understandings, but also know what it feels like in your body together. And that's what we're describing, how it happened for us when we were holding the group, but also witnessing all of the couples in the space doing the exact same thing, except they were long term partners. Like, that's just magic.
I
mm,
love that.
yeah.
Oh man, I really love that. Guys,
See, I'm
like
going to cry.
just I just
It's just
like,
me.
oh, like it's just so awesome. So I love it. I love it. You touched on something very, very briefly, and it piqued interest for me. You said to take people up the stages of relating.
Mm,
Could you speak to what you mean by the stages? I know we speak in our
the
work
3
with
stages,
MC.
yeah.
Yeah, the 3 stages of relating for couples. Just so they can understand, like, again, having a model, but going, oh, I didn't realize we were here and we can be here. Like, could you walk us through that?
So this is a framework that David Data coined. So acknowledging that's where I first heard it. And there's other people who have extrapolated it in different ways, like some of my other teachers. But the first stage of relationship is generally toxic. If anyone has seen Wuthering Heights, that is an example of stage one partnership. We're talking abuse, manipulation, control. One, usually, not always, the man is in a heavily toxic masculine, and then we've got a wounded feminine where he's beating on her or controlling her, or it could be more subtle than that. It's like, you can't go out with your friends tonight because you need to stay home and do this. So there's aspects of control and manipulation and lots of wounding playing out. Once we evolve through that, because they're evolutionary stages, we come into neutrality. Stage 2, there's a lot of 50-50. You do this and I'll do that. We both put money in the bank account. We both do our equal share around the house. So there's a real big drive on equality. And, I see it a lot these days with men who are like, we're going to split the bill? No, you're not going to split the bill if you want a third stage relationship. But if you're stuck at stage 2, you will, because that feels safe and equitable. And women have fought for equality. But what we really want is stage 3, which is divine union, where our relationship is in service to us as a vehicle of love. And so it's not about you fixing my wounding or me blaming you. It's about me owning my bit and also saying, I need help with this. How do we do this together? How do we grow in love together? So there's a deeper, very deep energetic shift that has to happen from stage 1 to stage 2 and stage 2 to stage 3 to get beyond our blame and our shame and our you didn't do enough for me and, all these ideas around equality. We are different, and we are different in such wonderful ways that without polarity, we can't actually get to stage 3.
Correct.
So it is the thing that, again, the poets write about. It is profound and prophetic and magical. And the frequency is what we were just describing at the retreat. Effortless. It doesn't mean you don't have discomforts or fights or arguments, but you know how to manage them, and you always come back to being in service to love. I believe we are in service to love, and the vehicle of the relationship is love, as opposed to I'm in service to you. We're actually in service to love, our love as a vehicle. And then when we have that in mind, we're focused on something bigger than ourselves and the nitty-gritty things that can drag us down into these lower stages. They're not lower, but they're just heavier and denser as well.
Oh, I love that. I even just like the idea of stage 3 where you just said, can I have help with this? That one beautiful question of like the coming together of like for our relationship. Can I have help with this? I love that. I love that. Have you got anything you'd like to add to that, MC?
No, I think Bree covered it off really nicely. Something that I'm very passionate about. I think the whole lot of the population is sort of swimming around in stages 1, some leapfrogging into 2. But when we express this and teach this, it gives people again another map or a direction of it doesn't have to be what there's more. And one of the best things I learned was this. This stage 3 relating um, and I'm with Bree. I also believe that it's actually in servitude to love or God. There's something higher than yourself and the relationship. So I've sort of not to diminish her. So same as Bree, David Deada and John Wineland was where I sort of extracted this from and made it my own and fully love this. And stage 3 was the couple and stage 4 was God in servitude to love. Both of them was the frequency of, love was choosing love and devotion. Stage 4 was realizing that we're transcending that and enlightening ourselves or moving ourselves back to light or love or God and being in service to that, the higher power, whatever yours is. And so, yeah, we're on the same page with that. We both believe that it's actually in service to the frequency of love, which is what Bree said, is that's the transmission was the frequency of love. There's what they were experiencing. So yeah, I think when you understand it, and this is why everyone who comes to the retreat leaves with this desire for it. They didn't know it 3 days earlier, 4 days earlier. It was a new concept, and all of a sudden they're hungry for it, and I got hungry for it. And I think there is this little white speck that lays 9 layers deep in our heart that knows this is a world that is truly possible. And this is why it resonates without the understanding. It just makes sense. They don't understand it, but it makes sense. And that's our soul state of unconditional love, soul speaking to us as like, hey, remember who you are. This is what you came here for. Oh, that felt nice.
Yeah. That, I want to hit that home as the home run because I want people to realize that this is possible for them.
Yeah.
It is totally, no matter where you are in it, it is totally possible for it. And Bree, with that, where can we find you? I know we are on, what's the date? It's the 26th of Feb. When's your next retreat?
So our annual couples retreat this year is called Depth and Devotion, and it's the 23rd to the 26th of April down in beautiful New South Wales. So come and join Michael and I. We have a few places left. I'm on
Amazing.
Instagram. I'm sure you put all the links in. My name is very long and
I'll
hard
put
to
the link in.
spell. I'm on Instagram and on Facebook, and I have a website as well. So yes, we'd love to have you along. Dive into the stage 3 energy
Amazing.
of devotion. This is the energy that changes the world. Healing between men and women is the energy that changes the world without a doubt for me. So
Thank you. Thank you, both of you, for doing the work that you do. It's just, yeah, it's healing. It's just amazing watching people come together. It's amazing because I watch how it affects. I'm obviously biased because I work with men, but I watch how it affects young men. I've come from the world of education all the way through to mentoring athletes and older men and business owners, and I watch how it affects the child who looks up to their parents modeling what the world is going to be for them. And it doesn't mean just because you've got this model now, it doesn't mean it can't change and to evolve into something that you guys are teaching. I just absolutely love that. Thank you both so much for your time. Thank you for your devotion to the work that you do and to people. It's just, yeah, really, thank you so much. It's absolutely, absolutely awesome. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, mate.
thank you.
Thank you, Bree.
There's a fine line between devotion and obsession. So
Yes.
a little bit
Yes.
obsessed in the
Yes.
best possible way.
Yeah.
Good, good.